So now that we've looked at the countries hit hardest, we have to talk about the policy that's quietly getting gutted in the ground. The African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. If you've been following U.S. Africa trade for the past 2 decades, you know AGOA has been a big deal. It was passed in 2000 with bipartisan support and was supposed to do something simple but powerful. Give African countries duty-free access to the U.S. market, not as charity, but as a way to jumpstart industrial development, encourage trade over aid, and support African job creation. And to a large extent, it worked. AGOA helped create over 300,000 jobs in Africa. It has supported billions in non-oil exports, from apparel to auto parts. It has sparked investments in light manufacturing in countries like Ethiopia, Kenya, Lesotho, Madagascar, and Ghana. It's one of the few trade programs that actually gave Africa a leg up. Not just rhetoric, but real market access. Now, AGOA is due for renewal this year. Yes, and there has been a lot of speculation about whether or not the Trump administration will renew it. Now, while Trump's new tariff order doesn't explicitly say AGOA is over, you can bet it is. Because now it just makes it irrelevant, right? If you're slapping a 10%, 30%, even 50% tariff on countries that were exporting duty-free under AGOA, then what's the point of AGOA anymore? It's like giving someone a VIP pass to your house, then locking the door and charging them to knock. Make that make sense. So this move, this executive order, it sidesteps the entire legislative process and undermines AGOA by executive fiat. Without public debate, without congressional approval, without any warning to African partners who spent years building industries around this deal. And let's be real, that does long-term damage. It tells African governments, you may think you're part of a partnership, but that partnership can vanish with the stroke of a pen. That's not a trade relationship, certainly not one you would want. And if AGOA collapses or becomes politically toxic under Trump, Africa's trust in U.S. trade policy may not recover for a generation.
There's a lot of debate around how we, break the ties from the dependency of importation and, dependency on other regions on Africa's economic future. So some doom and gloom, but I think there is some, it's not all negative. I think it's just really a moment in time where a lot of African leaders and business people and investors are figuring out what we can do to increase our own productivity, our own resilience, our own economies.
What can you anticipate would be the impact of these tariffs on the economies of these countries?
It's really about strengthening the capacity of our local investment and SME industries. They are the ones that we really need to look at to see how we can build some level of resilience and really challenge a system that has dominated, that has not necessarily been of immense benefit to Africa. There are a lot of things that happen in Africa in terms of dumping of inferior and cheap products on our markets as well from other regions. So we need to tackle some of these issues, and maybe this is the time for us to have some very honest conversations about a system that has not always been very fair to Africa, and maybe put Africa first, as America is clearly doing now.
By the United States on South Africa undermine the spirit of collaboration and fair trade between the two countries. The taxes include a 30% increase on South African goods and a 25% levy on automotive imports. It comes as Pretoria hopes to strengthen economic ties with Washington, and he views the U.S. as a key trading partner, as has always been the case. Let's take a listen.
Whilst South Africa remains committed to a mutually beneficial trade relationship with the United States, unilaterally imposed and punitive tariffs are a concern and serve as a barrier to trade and shared prosperity. The tariffs affirm the urgency to negotiate a new bilateral and mutually beneficial trade agreement with the U.S. as an essential step to secure long-term trade certainty.
So what now? Because if we're being honest, this isn't just about tariffs, trade math, or deficit spreadsheets, right? This is about trust, about predictability, about whether Africa can count on the U.S. as a stable economic partner or not. And after this executive order, it's hard to make that case with a straight face. Africa has long been told by Washington, trade, not aid, develop industries, become self-reliant. But now that some of those industries are actually succeeding, especially in textiles and light manufacturing, the rules are changing mid-game. And without any warning, AGOA was supposed to be the foundation of a 21st century U.S. Africa trade partnership. But if one administration can override it, then what kind of foundation is that, really? Trump's America First approach makes it very clear. Access to the U.S. market is now a privilege, not a partnership. So, my people, maybe it's time Africa starts acting accordingly. Here's what that could look like. We can start strengthening intra-African trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area, which, by the way, has already been ratified by 47 African countries and creates a single market of 1.4 billion people. We can start shifting export strategies toward regions that offer more stability, like the EU, Asia, or fellow African nations, rather than putting all the chips on a volatile U.S. market. We can start investing in local consumption and industrial value chains. So Africa isn't just exporting raw materials or low-margin goods, but actually building capacity to feed, clothe, and power itself. And yes, reimagining trade agreements with the U.S. that are truly mutual, enforceable, and resilient to political swings. And for African leaders, yes, this is a wake-up call. This is a test. Will we simply protest these tariffs? Or will we sit together, strategize, pivot, and build leverage? Because AGOA may be weakening, but here's the truth. Africa's bargaining power is only growing. We've got the youngest workforce in the world. We're rich in resources from rare earth minerals to talent. And we're sitting on the next frontier of global growth. The question is whether we use this moment to keep chasing favors or finally start setting terms. So here's my question to you. Should Africa keep fighting to fix AGOA? Or is it time to walk away and build a new trade system on its own terms? Let me know in the comments, and let's talk about it. That's it for today's breakdown. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode or learned something new, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and share it with your group chat so we can have these important conversations that are not happening anywhere else together. Until next time, take care. Hey, you! Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and join the family. Also, visit face2faceafrica.com for your daily news and updates on what's going on within the global Black community so you can stay informed.